want to welcome you guys to Jonathan. I met Jonathan, what about actually a little while before that, but I really got to know you about within the last year.
Yeah, I say the past year we met. Gosh, actually, what's crazy was February of last year. It's been a while.
Yeah. Yeah. It's time goes fast as you get older.
I guess.
That's mathematically true. A 1/50th of your life seems a lot shorter than 150% of your life. 2 years old, 1 year is 50% of your life. At 50 years old, 1/50th of your life. So they say every year, the year previous year seems faster than the last because of the mathematics of it all.
Yeah, but screw that. I'm trying to find a way to make it slow down. I'm gonna have no hair before I know it, and then we'll just be depressed.
There you go. I met Jonathan through my business partner, Dave, and Dave was raving about him as far as his financial advice. I already had my money invested with somebody else, but I hardly ever talked to them. And the beauty of Jonathan, and the reason I was really excited to get to know Jonathan, was the more I talked to him. We got some background noise going on. Get that muted. Who needs to mute themselves? Philip, can you mute yourself? And so the beauty of that was awesome. I think I got it back. Cool, perfect. So the beauty of that was that Jonathan really took time to educate me and talk to me more and more about money, about finances, about my money, about how to invest my money so that I have plenty when I get older. And this was really important to me. This having somebody that understands this, that will take the time to talk to me, to explain it to me, that actually understands money. And Jonathan definitely understands money. You come from basically a family that understands money generationally. You and your father, and the family business is all about understanding how to invest money and how not to get scammed out of money. And so getting around Jonathan was really good. Now, the thing I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna open it with this. When I was younger, I did not save money. I was always like, oh, I'm too broke. I don't have enough money. I don't have enough money. I don't have enough money. And I got to pay this bill. I got to pay that bill. And I heard, and I don't know if you know who T. Harv Eker is, Jonathan, but I heard T. Harv Eker give a talk once. And he said, you got to pay yourself first. And you got to put that money away. And you put it into a nest egg that's going to eventually, like, the only way this money in this nest egg can ever be used is if I invest in something that's going to give me a return, or I'm buying more of something, anything that's going to give me a return. I can't spend it to pay bills or anything like that. It really hit me at that point. He said, if you don't do that, you'll never magnetize money to you. And he really hit me at that point. Up until then, I'd never saved money. So I made a commitment to start putting money away. Felix, go ahead and mute yourself if you can. I made a decision to start putting money away, and know whether or not I could pay my bills or not, I was not going to touch that money. That money didn't exist. In my mind, it was gone. The second thing I did was pay myself. And when I started doing that, suddenly I started to save actual money. When I was willing to have a hit on my credit report to have a retirement, suddenly they both got paid. And it was pretty amazing. Jonathan just took that 10 times higher, really educated me. So I know it was a long introduction, a long talk, but this is Jonathan's new book.
I love it. I had one to hold up also. I love it.
Stop faking it and start making it. That's his actual car right there. He's got two of them now, right?
It's next week. I'll have two of them. Yeah.
Yeah. Congratulations, man. So he has an orange one and a green one. You go for the bright colors, don't you?
I'm going to be obnoxious. Yes.
Yeah. I love it. So we got some stories there to share too. And Jonathan's going to be speaking in Miami, a little bit more of an introduction at the TIMS, the Integrated Man Summit, in December, first weekend in December. He's going to be coming out there, and I heard you're going to be bringing one of the cars. We're shipping it out, the new one, and he's going to be talking to you all about how to really put your money away so that you're not broke when you're old. Like I can't tell you how many of my family members are living on Social Security, or how many people I know that run out of money, and he's going to talk to you about how to really grow your money. So welcome, Jonathan.
Thank you. Appreciate the introduction too. That was awesome.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I'm really not that cool. Also, everyone preface that I'm very boring. So if Brian and Dave ever talk, it's only because they're trying to make me sound a lot cooler than I really am. I'm actually a nerd.
You are a bit of a nerd in a good way.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. I like that. That's that means you actually think about this stuff. You don't just don't just sell it. You're not a good salesman hyping this stuff up. You actually think about it. So let's dive right in. We have some specific topics we had said we were going to cover today, and I was looking at some of these earlier, and the problem is I haven't read your book yet because it literally just came out. It came out while I was in Chile, and I tried to buy it 3 times, but Amazon kept shutting me down. Amazon kept thinking I was buying it from a fake account and spending money from a fake account. Kept shutting me down in Chile, so I got to buy one now. This one's actually Dave's copy. So let's talk about it. So
Sure. So, I mean, the first part about money, I mean, number one is money is a tool. That's what I talked to you and Dave about when we first met. The entire purpose of your money should be kind of what you started at the very beginning. You want it to go out and try and attract more money. And there's a lot of people that in today's society talk about money, but they talk about it in the wrong way. And they're always trying to push an agenda to just sell a product or a course that's going to captivate you for one, and also promise that if you follow exactly what they do and what they're preaching to you, that you will end up having money. And that is one of the biggest problems with society right now that is causing so many people to not actually have money. And same with also that there's no money management skills being taught in high school or any higher education. There's nothing. And so the first thing is money, its sole purpose is to allow for freedom. It allows you the ability to do what you want when you want, and nothing more than that. And there's more than one way to achieve getting money. That's the really awesome thing. And a lot of people think that money is kind of a scarce, it's a scarcity in the world. There's only a finite amount of it. And even for me, when I was growing up, so just a brief background, my father, he was a police officer, left being a police officer when I was born, and literally said, okay, I'm going to try and go in a different career field that might be a little bit less life threatening, more or less. And so I kind of jokingly tell everyone I've been doing this for 32 years of my life, because I literally, when the day I was born, grew up with my father doing this. So I saw to an extent what goes into the building of the business and the financial aspect of everything. But even I was still ignorant to money and the ways to make money, and how actually it's not as hard as many people say it is or think it is. The biggest problem is a mindset problem. And when you start looking at your mindset differently as far as how you can grow yourself, it actually starts to attract money, and you start to attract people into your life that also allow you to make more money. So the biggest thing for everyone to understand right away is that if you go into anything that you're doing in life with the sole purpose to make money, you're never going to have money. And that was actually one of the biggest problems that I've had for the longest time. I kind of came into my career ignorant, thinking, okay, I'm going to become a financial advisor and I'm going to make all this money. And I didn't make fucking money at all. I mean, I was doing okay, but I wasn't growing to what I thought I would grow right away. And I had to actually take a step back and look at just myself and what was actually motivating me for the most part, which was I wanted to just make money. And I wasn't going after the right people, also trying to work with them. So I was closing a lot of doors and not even realizing that I was closing a lot of doors because I was only trying to focus on who can I talk to that's going to help me to help them grow, but I'm going to make money in the process. And when I shifted my mindset, my stance on that, and I started saying, well, no, there's a big problem here, and I need to actually help people with this because I am good at this aspect of my career. I was just focusing on it the wrong way. And I really started to focus on people to helping them acquire their wealth, the ones that maybe didn't have any wealth at all. And when I started doing that, well, all of a sudden the byproduct was more people started to come to me without me having to seek them out. And all of a sudden it just grew and snowballed bigger and bigger and bigger to where we are now. And just over the past couple of years has been when I've made that switch, and I can directly correlate my, I don't want to say success, but what I've been able to accomplish, because I don't think I'm successful by any means yet, because I have a certain goal I want to get to, but with what I've been able to accomplish to this point.
Your idea of successful and other people's are probably very different, though.
Yeah, everyone, and that's the one thing about it. Same thing with money. Everyone has a view of money that's skewed because of the media and social media and everything around them. That the first question I always ask everyone is, define to me what your wealth is when I'm going to meet with someone, and tell me what it's meaning to you to be successful. And those are very important questions I ask people, because I have a certain number that's in my mind that I want to achieve. And that to me will be my freedom number, more or less. And other people have a different number, but wealth at the end of the day is not just the monetary part, it's the health part, it's the relationship part. It's if you're religious, your relationship with God or anything else, those are all part of it. And that's the one thing that I really started to bring into all of my interactions with everyone is talking about all of those because they all are very cohesive. And once you start getting them all firing on the same cylinders, all of a sudden things really magically happen and things grow for you. So that's a very long-winded answer, I guess, about what the hell is money.
Well, I mean, the part that caught me in there was that you really, there's two things that caught me. It's mindset was one, because it's all about mindset. I've never been able to accomplish anything without shifting my mindset first. Then the answers show. And the answers are usually there waiting for me, but I don't see them till I shift my mindset. And I see so many guys going out there and trying to do stuff, but are not looking internally at why they're not successful. And number two is that part you talked about is creating value in the world. I see so many people struggling in that area too. They're all trying to start businesses where they're just trying to get to the money.
Yeah.
The business is a vehicle for the money, and in reality it's the other way around. It's great that you make money, but you do what you love and the money follows. And that's what I've always done. I do this industry. I see so many people get into this industry and burn out. Why? Because they get into it for the money. They make a little money, they go do something else. There's two dating coaches I met recently that got into this industry, made money as dating coaches, burned out, and one wanted to become a comedian, the other wanted to become an actor. And so they both quit to go do that. And it just makes me laugh. I love helping people change their mindset. So that's super exciting. I do it for free. I want to put out as many YouTube videos as we can to help as many people as we can. And then if somebody wants to come take a program, great. The same.
Yeah.
It sounds like it's the same for you.
No, exactly. And that's the biggest thing about it. For me, especially where like I said, I think I actually even finished answering that one part, but where I could see a difference in my business and my life, and also the sense of fulfillment because when I started actually changing it to focus on, okay, no, my first mission is I need to help and educate people. And after that, the money will follow. And it did. But that's the same reason for the book and why I'm going to be doing the same thing where I have a YouTube channel. I haven't really posted anything to it yet, but the goal is over the coming months, I will be putting out videos on a routine basis, a couple a week about various topics from the book, but are all around just money management 101 and things that apply in today's world. And I want to take also things maybe from headlines when I see things that are really important because as I started going down the journey of writing the book then, for one, I wanted that book out there because it serves a couple things. Number one, it serves to help a lot of people where all of a sudden my voice now.
Oh, guys.
What'd you say?
No, somebody jumped in. We just need to make sure everybody's muted. Okay. So keep going, Jonathan.
Oh, good. So the book can now reach a ton of people that I couldn't otherwise do in the past. And I've kind of been using a very different way of marketing it through some of my friends who already have successful YouTube channels. And it's allowed me to get distribution out to people that are also my target audience. They're younger and they are growing up in a world that really honestly doesn't care about them as far as their finances or anything. And my mission is then to, once people read the book and like the book, hopefully, fingers crossed, everyone likes it and sees the value in it, then I can from there build up and start having the YouTube series, but also having the coaching part. So that's the last part of it. So we've got book, we've got a YouTube series / website, and then the one-on-one coaching with me or the rest of my team if you so want it. So I've done a lot of stuff that's going to be of just free value to people that they can use in a everyday place of life. And the last part is where the money comes in for me, where you're having that access to me to coach you or my team to coach you one-on-one.
Well, let's talk about that because there's so many people that suffer over money today, more than in the past, I think, in a lot of ways. There's a lot of people that are broke, there's a lot of people that are poor, there's a lot of people that go paycheck to paycheck until they're old and then they can't work anymore and they're on Social Security. There's a lot of people scared about what their money future is going to be like. They save a little money, they lose a little money. They save a little money, they lose it. And they can't seem to keep money put away. And what would you say to those people? Because to me, that's just one of the biggest pains on like when I think about those poor people, I think about, that was me for a long time. And I think about the stress it creates in your body day to day and the anxiety and the worry. And you're really out to help those people stop living that lifestyle because, money doesn't buy happiness, but puts you in a place where you can create happiness. It allows you to take the programs, the seminars, travel the world, do things without stressing and worrying about if you're going to pay the rent. So
Yeah.
can you
No,
talk a little about that?
yeah. I mean, the one thing I'll say about that, the money doesn't buy happiness statement, I heard a good saying actually one time someone said, I can't remember who it was, but they said, if money doesn't buy happiness, you don't know where to shop. And I think that's true to an extent because a lot of people think the material aspect of it, but you got to look at it from another aspect. And what you were just alluding to, the courses, like everyone that's part of Fearless Man. I mean, even with myself coming out when I met with you and Dave, I mean, that was infinitely valuable. What I learned in just 3 days and how I could apply it. And then when you guys coming out, for example, to the office and how I was able to employ that to the rest of the office, I've seen a direct correlation to my investment. So I've spent money, and I would say that that has bought me some happiness, quote unquote, because I could see a direct change in how my life has been, my interactions with other people, but also the way my staff and the rest of my team interacts with other people. So those are the ways where money can buy happiness. Or same if you're going to be donating to charities or things like that, that's the happiness part, but it's not the material part where a lot of people get caught up on. The other part about money for people that don't have, quote unquote, a lot of it or struggle, there's another good saying that says, if you don't come from a wealthy family should come from you. And a
Oh, I
lot of people
like
might
that.
take that.
Never heard that one, but I really like it.
Yeah, I heard that. And again, I don't know who it was. It wasn't me, although I'd love to say by Jonathan Turner. But I love that statement because I really not wealthy, but I'm a byproduct of that to an extent. And I have a lot of people sometimes that will discredit what I try to do because they say, well, Jonathan, you've always had it easy. You grew up, your dad was a financial advisor. You have a fucking McLaren or whatever else. Like you don't know what it's like to struggle. I'm like, well, that's not true. I know to an extent, but I am also fortunate, also very fortunate. That's just where God put me in the planet, being born to my mom and my dad. But my dad was in the exact opposite position. He moved out of his house at the age of 16, went in and out of college multiple times, was a firefighter, jumped around to a bunch of different jobs, became a police officer, and then meets my mom and has me, and all of a sudden says, I want to try something else. And that was at the age of 33 that he started his financial, this firm. So I'm 32. Next year would be essentially the age of my dad was when he started it. So I could directly tell people, well, look, that's what my dad did. He made a conscious effort to try and change. He took a gamble. He could have failed very easily, but it was his perseverance and trying to make sure that he could better the life for his family, myself, my mom, my brother. And I am now the result of that, where I did have, yes, I would say a good upbringing. By no means were we lavish and flying on jets or anything like that, but I was fortunate with where I was, the position I was put in life, which I want to take that now and go one step further, continue it. But what I also want to do is help other people do that exact same thing. There is no such thing as too late for anyone in life. I mean, look at same thing with Colonel Sanders. He was 65 years old when he started KFC, and it becomes a multi-billion-dollar company. So there is no such thing as too late. It's, again, it goes back to the mindset. So many people will say, oh, I can't do that. I can't afford that, or that's not in the cards for me. You've already given up on yourself. You're not even trying. And that's one of the biggest problems with society.
Yeah, I agree. There's something you said in there that was interesting is that you talked about, you haven't really struggled, but you've been through a little bit. And honestly, I'm fine with that. I'd rather that you haven't struggled. I'd rather that you grew up around money. I'd rather that you know how money works inside out and you haven't had to go through that, because that means you're the guy that knows how to rearrange the way I think. Because you got the thought, I can model your beliefs. I can model the way you look at money. I can model the way you look at the way you enjoy your McLarens and the way you enjoy life and the way your attitude. You say some pretty interesting stuff. And, a lot of times we think somebody has to have been through all this pain and struggle before they can give their story. And that's actually not true. That's great. They went through the pain. They know how to go through pain. But do they have the beliefs you want right now? And you do.
Yeah. And the interesting thing about that, though, is you do see a lot of people that, if you want to call second generation of a business, where it actually doesn't work out because their beliefs sometimes are completely skewed for the wrong way. Yeah. And there is an interesting study that was done that shows people that are from a less fortunate upbringing have the higher potential of becoming successful when they put their mind to it. The probability skyrockets more than someone that grew up around some sort of money in any way, shape, or form. And the reason they attribute it is the people that grow up around it, quote unquote, the majority of them will just sit back and say, so it's easy. I'll get it. And they'll just wait for it to come to them. And sometimes it never does, or they take a business that was already a good business and blow it up because they're too lazy or they're lax and they're not trying to think of continuing to be hungry. Whereas someone who grows up, say, in a less fortunate position, gets that point of success, the success actually multiplies exponentially. And there's many people that are in real world examples of this. I mean, like Ed Milet or Andy Frisello or like Manny Koshman. There's tons of guys out there that you can see their upbringing compared to where they are now, and it's insane. And I'm sure there's even more people that were in a fortunate position growing up, but just got lazy or lax and just wanted everything done for them and never actually fulfilled what their true potential was.
Here's my thing. I'm interested in the person that has a passion for what they do and doesn't need to be motivated by pain, that just loves what they do. Like, you love looking at and figuring out how to make money multiply. I know that because I've hung out at your office. I've worked with your staff. You got a great staff. You look at somebody like Richard Branson. Richard Branson has more money than he could spend in his lifetime. He loves going out and creating businesses. You look at somebody that like this, that has this mentality, whether you like him or not. Donald Trump, his father was wealthy, but he loves creating businesses. You know, he loves building more real estate and figuring it out one step at a time. And that to me is what it's all ultimately about. And you've got that. So I was looking at the bullets that we put on this, and I want to cover those bullets because, you know, we told everybody these are the things we're going to talk about. And the first one we've got on here is you were talking about the what do the wealthy know that everybody else doesn't, basically? What is it that they're getting that's causing them to produce more wealth that the average person is just losing all their money right and left?
The secret to success?
Yeah. Well, you talked about that as one of the keys. What is the difference in mindset between the two? You were talking about the mindset's the key.
Yeah. No, I was gonna say that's right. That's the secret right there. That's what the wealthy do. If you want, whatever you want to say, and wealthy or that are good at sports or anything else, it's the mindset. It's the determination that no matter what is going to be happening, no matter what's being thrown in front of them, they're not going to give up. And they are always trying to evolve and find new ways to do it. I mean, an example with our business, there's always in the financial world setbacks. And 2008, 2009, great example of that for our business also, and for people that were investing in the markets. And who knows when the next one will happen, but those are sometimes defining moments, how you handle the business and what you do with it, what your mindset is, because it could have been very easy when that happened. I was just getting out of college. So I graduated in the fall of 2009. So I was at the tail end of when it all happened. But I remember from 2008 going all the way through 2009, my dad continually trying to lose, or not trying to, but he was losing sleep pretty much every single day. How is he going to continue to keep the staff on board and maintain everything because of how quick the market sold off? Now, there was things that he had done to help protect investors to an extent, which that's great. But still, if you have even 50% of the money still in the markets and the markets go down 50%, it's going to eat into a lot of your revenue, especially if your revenue is based on money being invested. And so he made a decision going into cash, and he also did not want to give up anyone that was on the team at the time. And I remember a lot of times he was trying to figure out how to do that without sacrificing.
He didn't want to let any employees go, is what you mean by that, right? Yeah.
And so he instead figured he would take essentially the complete hit himself. But in the process of doing that, he was meeting with other people that he was talking about what he was doing, and it actually started to attract people to say, well, oh my gosh, that's actually really admirable. I'm going to move money over to you. So he actually found himself for a few months in a very less than desirable position. And then all of a sudden, because of what he'd done for his clients of saying, you know, instead of leaving it invested, I'll take the hit on the income and I'm going to move half of the accounts to cash, not get paid on it, but it's in cash for you, the client, until we want to reinvest. A lot of clients start telling their friends, and their friend then started then saying, well, what the hell, my advisor didn't move anything to cash. And it started to come over then into the business. And that then helped him actually after, let's say almost a year period of time to recoup a lot of what he had lost himself during that year period of time. And it's a good example just personally of, not for myself, but what I experienced where it could be very easy to say the market's going down. I'm going to keep all my clients' money in the market and keep making my money. Fuck them. You know what I mean? And there's a lot of people that do that. So it's really your mindset around how you're willing to adapt to any unknown situations and the perseverance also. I mean, he could have folded up shop and sold the business also and still probably got a multiple of 2 times his recurring revenue, which would have been at the time, say a few $1,000,000. So he could have said, you know what, I'm done and walk away, but he chose not to. So I think that that's the biggest part of what separates some of the successful people or wealthy people, whatever you want to call it, from the non is we're all faced with the same stuff and we're all human beings. So number one is being a human being, you're irrational. So we always, at some capacity, act irrational, no matter who we are at some point during the day. And number two is it's what do we do after we act irrational? I mean, you can act irrational for a moment and be pissed off, flip your desk or say, that's it, I'm selling it or I'm done or anything else. But are you going to actually do that? Or are you going to then put one foot forward and start to figure out, well, what do I need to do to actually make this business survive or to continue to grow my business? And we've into our business where it is now, where we already have things kind of covered for when 2008, 2009 happens again, for example. Let's say hypothetically, same exact occurrence, we know we're going to take a hit on the nose of 50%. But over the past decade, we've been putting cash on the side to essentially supplement income. But it could be even worse. This next recession could go on for years. And so I could very well be faced with a similar predicament or worse, saying, well, now what are we going to do because the markets aren't coming up for God knows how long. Hopefully it doesn't happen, but I'm sure at some point I'll be faced with also something that's going to define what I do with my life.
And that's powerful because the person who's in it just for the money, as soon as the money's gone, they're gone.
Yeah.
And I remember they were talking about this in real estate, same basic thing your father just experienced, is that during a down market, when everybody else quits real estate, the people who actually love real estate tend to make more money than in the up markets. They do better in the down market because they see the intricacies. They love the passion. They're looking at the long term. They're looking at how can I really help people, not just make money. And in that, they become millionaires and super successful.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. And I even cover a little bit in the book because right now there's a lot of people that talk about real estate specifically as the greatest thing since sliced bread. And it's, you need to be in real estate. Don't buy in the stock market. The stock market's overvalued. You need to be in real estate. All right.
Yeah.
Put the money with your advisor. And I sit back and I could look at some of these people and I right away can tell, okay, you clearly were too young to be buying real estate in 2008, 2009. And when they show the guys that did make a lot of money, because there's some big guys on even social media that they built their empire from 2007 to 2009. They were already wealthy and well off because they were in real estate for a number of years. But the one thing that they had in 2007 was cash. They had a shit ton of cash that they were able to then throw at real estate, where they were buying real estate, literally bank foreclosures. You could buy properties for pennies on the dollar. Yeah. And so it's the same thing like going in the stock market when there's a recession. And the one thing I also cover is the stock market is the one thing that acts like nothing else as far as investments are concerned. So if real estate were to drop right now, a lot of people would be taking money out to try and go buy real estate. But if the stock market were to drop, what happens? Everyone wants to sell out and get out of it. And I use the analogy with a lot of people. It's like if you go to Walmart, right? If you go to Walmart and Walmart says 50% off the entire store, are you going to go, nah, I'm not going to Walmart? Or are you going to all of a sudden go to Walmart and buy because the whole store is 50% off? Or any retail store for that matter. It doesn't matter what it is. You're going to go and you're going to buy it because it's 50% off. It's cheaper, right? But if Walmart says, hey, we're going to raise our prices 300%, are you going to want to buy into Walmart then or buy something from Walmart? No, but that's exactly what happens in the stock market a lot. And also sometimes you're seeing the tail end right now happen in the real estate market where it's grown for 10 years. We've had 10 years of just almost consistent growth, and people want to buy into real estate right now, but then they look at the stock market and go, well, wait a second, okay, I might buy it now, but if it drops, I don't want to buy in, I want out. And it's like the irrational part that I was talking about where human beings we're irrational, so sometimes we make irrational decisions that precipitates then and leads to much larger problems.
Yeah, it's true. We do make a lot of irrational decisions. I'll tell you what, really, I used to worry about that stuff a lot. And it seems funny, but the thing that kind of got me over it was Bitcoin. When I started watching the markets in Bitcoin, stock market seemed like nothing. I was like, it goes up, it goes down, it always comes back. It may take a few years, but it comes back.
Yeah.
And
Today was on, it was on sale today.
yeah, and I trust that you know what you're doing. Plus, I've got, we diversify. That's the whole point of diversification. It's so important that you have money in many different spots, because if one goes down, one goes up, and that's the way it goes. So the next thing we were going to talk about, we were talking about on this call, is why does most money advice just not work for people? Why do like all those gurus out there, everybody selling an idea and giving advice out? Why does most of it fail?
Because it's bullshit. Is honestly what it is. In all honesty, I mean, there's 300,000 financial advisors that are licensed in this country, and thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of others that aren't licensed. And one of the biggest problems is you've got too many people that are just glorified salesmen. They're not actually giving you any foundational advice that you're licensed.
This is one of my favorite pet peeves about financial advisors, and one of the reasons I went with you is they will come and say, I'm a financial advisor, and they went through like a short course, and they personally don't have any money. They don't show any aptitude for wealth other than the short course they took and the certifications they got to be a financial advisor, but their personal lives, they're broke and they're struggling.
Well, it could be that, or on the upside, they might even be successful, but they're just doing it to better themselves and to better their income and not anyone else. And you see every decade or so when the world changes and you have a big correction or recession, they get taken out to the cleaners. The problem is people forget about that and we fall back into the same trap. So it's a vicious cycle, just rinse, wash, repeat. But the one thing that I think helped my father stay around, especially in 2008, 2009, and the one thing that I will say I can guarantee is going to keep me around forever is because I actually care about what the hell I'm doing. Like, yes, I'm in it to make money. And I tell everyone that right away. I'm not a charity here. So I'm not here to provide a ton of advice for free. I want to help people and give them enough value that they can do and grow on their own. But also, I want them to pay me to be in their life, to be their coach, to be their financial fitness coach, which is really what I've tailored everything off of. And
this is really important what you just said, because that's how I see my business as twofold, and I think you do too. One is I want to give a lot of advice for free on YouTube and social media and stuff that can help everybody, because I want everybody to get access to it. And number two, for the people that want to work with me or one of our coaches personally and want to spend the money to get the knowledge faster and to get it called out on their shit, then that's how I make my money.
Yeah.
And go for it.
That's the biggest thing. That's when I go back to saying when I made that mindset change also, where I can really make a positive impact in a lot of people's lives. And I saw then how that also affected me on the monetary side. It was because of that exact thing. I'm going through and showing you, okay, here's what you can do, but there's nothing special about me. So at the end of the day, I'm just Jonathan Turner, a regular old dude from Hershey, Pennsylvania, that has a serious problem with cars. But beyond that, there's nothing really special that separates me from anyone else, especially in the financial world. There could actually be people that are more sophisticated, smart by all means. I'm not the smartest one on the planet, but what I understand is how the world works, and that it's not that I'm not the smartest person in the financial world. It's the fact that I'm going to tell you what's real and tell you the truth about it. And the truth is that to be a financial advisor, you need to actually be giving actual financial advice. You can't just be selling a product. And there's too many people in my industry that just sell a product, or they will say, you know what, I have this nifty bag of awesome stuff. It's really shiny. It's going to make you a ton of money. Let's put your money into it. And then they don't call you in a year from there. And that's the one thing that separates me and has helped me to grow the business so well, is I don't do any of that stuff. I want to get to know you first and foremost to see, are we going to be a fit to even work together? Because who knows? I mean, I don't care if you're going to pay me if it's going to be someone I don't want to work with. I don't want to work with them. Or you might not like my personality, or someone else in my office. You might like one of my other advisors. So it's first, let's see if we're a fit. And then number two, it's, okay, we established the relationship. And the relationship is very simple. I'm going to take you upside down and shake you by the ankles and see where your life falls out. I'm going to then put that back together and help you determine, well, what do you need to be doing on a routine basis? And I'm going to check in with you every single month. And it could be even a simple text message a month or it could be an hour meeting. It doesn't matter, but I'm going to always be in front of you because things are going to change in your life or in my world with investments. Something's going to be different where we then need to make adjustments. And I think that that also really helped a lot because now I can actually see on or not daily, but on a monthly basis, the changes are happening in people's lives. And that's the cool part because I can actually see people that go from a crap ton of debt to being debt free. And then they're going, oh my gosh, I got money to start investing now. And it's really awesome. That's the part that I love the most.
Yeah, this is super true because I do hear from you a lot. We talk a lot. I hear from you a lot. The former company I kept my money with, I never heard from them. I just gave them the money and they invested it. And we come up with strategies, plans, long-term strategies, 10 years, 15 years. It's really freaking cool, actually. And that's what excites me the most about working with you. Um, so, um, So why? What's the real secret or purpose to investing money? I hear that I saw this question. It's on our thing. It says the real secret and purpose to investing money, and it confused me because the purpose to investing money. At first, the first thought comes to mind is, well, so I have a nice retirement. But it seems like there might be something else there that because you wrote there, almost everyone gets it wrong. What is that purpose?
I wrote that one. I don't remember that one.
I think that George might have rewrote it a bit. Hey, what's the original verbiage there, Jonathan, to this one?
But fire away again. I'll gladly answer it. That's fine. I,
It's the purpose of investing money.
all right. Well, I
What's
like
the
to,
purpose?
that's a little bit deeper. Go to read George's again. I'll answer it.
The real secret and purpose to investing money, almost everyone gets it wrong. So George rewrote these to make them a little more exciting for the internet. Um, and so I read that one and I was confused by it. So what's the purpose to investing money? Because in my mind, it's so I have a retirement. That's how I think about it, So I have money in the future, so I'm
I
not
mean,
stress free.
to an extent, I mean, I think I know where he's going with it because I've talked to him at length about it before as well. And I've also talked about it in the book. But the biggest purpose about the why you want to invest your money is so you can outpace inflation. That's actually the number one reason why, for example, the stock market exists in the first place. It was to allow for the trade of goods, but to keep up with inflation as things
That's
become.
true. I didn't think of it that way because when you have money into your mattress, you're losing money. You know,
Yeah. So, I mean, if
Even
you
though
have
yeah,
Yeah, if you have $1 million, for example, sitting in your mattress, and let's say interest rates go up by 2%, or inflation, let's say, goes up by 2%, well, you just lost a decent amount of money, right? You lost 20 grand. If you didn't, if you would have had in the market and you were able to pace just inflation, you'd be ahead of the game. That's at least my interpretation of what George is asking. That's the biggest mistake a lot of people make. A lot of people go into investing thinking that they need to make all this large money, and they think like The Wolf of Wall Street or Boiler or all these other movies about investing, and they see the rah-rah sessions on YouTube and Instagram where guys say, hey, I've got 180% return. Come look at my course or something else. And a lot of it's all BS. I mean, the number one reason why you want to invest money is to outpace inflation and grow your money for the future. That's it. And there's a good saying, it's called boring is performing. And that's the biggest thing that I do with a lot of my investments and teach a lot of the people I work with is I'm not here to try and generate a massive return overnight. There's things that we can do over time that, yes, will make you money, but the goal is not to try and shoot for the stars all the time. It's to do things that are consistent and you do it every single month and you don't stop doing that. So consistency is what allows you then over time to snowball and build up your wealth. And if you're aiming only for inflation and we do better than that, for example, like when I show you projections, I only put when I meet with someone, what if I get you a 5% rate of return? And I hate this topic also because people always quote rates of return. And it's just the dumbest thing to really look at because you don't know what the future is going to hold. And so I'll keep it very simple and very low, saying, well, what if we get 5%? And what if inflation stays at an average of 3% in this country? Which that's what the government likes to tell everyone, but they like to leave out the cost of gasoline and food and a few other things. I mean, food in 2017 alone went up by 17%. I mean, that's asinine. So that's left out of it. And so I play around with the numbers then, and well, I'll say inflation is higher. I'll say the rate of return is lower. And if I can just match those two out and show you here's how much you need to put away for just to keep even essentially your paycheck in the retirement, that's the reason why you want to invest in the first place. And that will hopefully surprise you when it's all said and done by going, oh, I got actually a lot more than what I was originally setting out to do.
I love what you said there because you're really speaking the fearless language. We talk about the 1% rule. And with mental growth and physical growth or anything like that, you're just looking for a tiny little change a day, 1%, 1/100%, 1/1000%, just little bits of growth. Because once you get that pinhole in the dam and it starts to leak, it's only a matter of time before that dam breaks open, right? The key to that is that consistent little bit of growth. That's all I look for. Every day, can I grow a little more? Can I grow a little more? I know that will lead to a quantum leap someday. Whether that's like with me and you, where we're doing a bunch of little investments, that it starts to get exciting because you see things happening. And then suddenly one just has a big payday or something pays off. It's not like I was looking for that payday. It's through this consistent effort and diversification that it kind of just happens somewhere, someplace. And it's beautiful. And you don't have to go searching for the get rich quick scheme. If you do everything consistently and right, it'll happen to you. Something will happen, and it's just amazing.
Oh yeah, but that also is where a lot of people get preyed upon lately, because there's a lot of people that will prey on that desire that people want to get things quick. There is, in today's day and age, instant gratification. Everyone wants it right now. I got to have it now.
Yeah.
The millennial generation especially has it, where it's like, okay, I'm so used to things growing so quickly through technology that I want a 10% return next month, or I want this, or I want that, whatever it may be. But you get a lot of people that have come into the marketplace now and are promising essentially that exact thing. They're saying, hey, if you buy this course, you will be able to get to where I am. And the biggest problem with like social media and a lot of just media in general is they overly sensationalize what wealth really is. And like I said before, like wealth isn't just the monetary part. It's more like a byproduct of it. Like being truly wealthy means that you can have a work optional lifestyle at the time that you desire. That, for number one, if you want to know, well, what's success? If you can wake up one day and say, fuck it, I don't want to go to work and my family's okay, you made it. You're in a good spot. Doesn't matter how much or how little that number is, you are in a good position. The second part is, again, your wealth, your health, and also your relationship with your family and religion or anything else that you believe in. Those all together are the wealth part. But social media and everything, when I asked people for the book, for example, I interviewed a ton of people. I was like, what does success mean to you? What does wealth mean to you? And the majority, over 90% of people, it would be the Ferrari, it'd be the Lamborghini, it'd be a mansion or a jet or a yacht. It was all these material things. And that was the biggest thing. Like, holy crap, there's this over sensationalizing of the material aspects, which are just what wealth affords. Like that's it, nothing else.
And I love that coming from a guy who has 2 McLarens in his garage.
Yeah, let's see. Again,
I have to give you a little flack about that.
But honestly, if it came down to it, if I had a gun in my head and said, Jonathan, you can no longer have this. If you wanted the business to continue, you have to give that part up. Great, so be it. Like, I love the McLarens and I love cars in general. I would like to have a shit ton more cars, but that doesn't mean anything to me. And like, it was for when I bought the first one, it was just a sense of accomplishment. I set out and said, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. And I knew business-wise what I need to do, how many people I need to affect and reach and help them grow so that then I could also, as a byproduct, grow. That was the cool part. And since then, it's continued to just snowball. At the end of the day, though, if that part goes away, will I be upset? Yeah, I'll be sad because I don't have a car anymore like that. But that doesn't define who I am. And that's the biggest problem with social media and today's description of wealth. So many people let the material things define them. I see so many people go into debt that want to have the McLaren or want to have the house or whatever else it is, or just a nice watch or just nice clothes, whatever the heck it may be. So many people are willing to go to lengths to get stuff that they don't like or care about to impress people that they don't even know, that it creates this huge problem. And that's why you see so many people in debt nowadays too. And for me, why I'm trying to help so many people wake up and realize that you don't have to actually have all that. And actually, if you focus on other stuff first, you can get that stuff at some point in your life and actually be okay.
I think that's why I like listening to your story about owning the McLaren, because you definitely you just own it for you. You're not trying to impress people. I remember this, you don't mind that the one story about the girl that walked up to you at the restaurant. I think, was that in Florida or somewhere? You were driving it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you mind sharing that story? Because it comes back to this whole idea of social status and I have a car, look at me, I'm cool. But your attitude was completely different because she came up to you where? Outside the restaurant?
Yeah, I was outside of a Blue Martini down in Naples, and it was when the heck was it? Back in February, I think. And long story short, try to keep it short. Essentially, there's this big downtown bar area in Naples, and I would go to it for God, almost 10 years, and I've been there all the time. Never showed up in a car or anything. I'm just there. And guess how many times a girl approached me? Approached me. You know how many times a girl approached me? Goose egg. Zero. It's not like I really care, but I show up one time within the McLaren, I get out, and within about 5 minutes of getting out, there's multiple girls that are asking me to get drinks or, hey, you want to hang out for the night? I'm like, no, I'm married. Like, go away. Like, well, is your wife here? I'm like, no, she's not here. Well, your wife doesn't have to know. Are you kidding me? I'm like, don't. I'm like, jump off a bridge. Like, seriously, like, it's annoying because the same thing happened also though in like other circles where people like in the past maybe not have taken me as credible, and all of a sudden I'm more credible as a financial advisor because of the car in some instances, which was kind of sad. It speaks a little bit to society. And then the same with the girl that was in Naples. It's like, well, if you saw me get out of any other car that night, if I would have got out of like a Ford Fiesta, she'd probably been like, no, nah, screw it, I'm not going to talk to that guy. And all of a sudden, because I'm getting out of my car, oh yeah, I want to go talk to you. Like, and it was really just, it was annoying. It was kind of comical too, because it just shows like the interesting part of society sometimes, what people attribute being attractive or something else, or wealthy.
I mean, they're obviously gold digging. They see the money. They see the car. Yeah. They think about the money. Not all girls are like that, and you also have that perfect point too, right? Because you made that comment. It was perfect. It was like, well, these girls weren't there when I didn't have the money, so I'm hell of a not. What did you say? Something like that. So I'm not going to be there for them.
Oh yeah, I forget how I said it, but I was like, I'm definitely not talking to them now that I have it. Like they can go jump off a bridge.
Yeah. And the beautiful part is you've got a beautiful, successful wife. She's super successful like you, and
yeah, she's awesome.
And she was there when in the beginning, right? I mean. That's literally who you know, I love hearing stories like that. I love hearing stories about great relationships when guys end up getting married. I love going to weddings. It's just like, that's more important to me than the guy who gets 50 million chicks, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Gets the right chick and is just madly in love with her and she's crazy about him, because it does happen.
Yeah. There's like those sayings that they say, like a girl's faith is tested when the man has nothing. The man's faith is tested when he has everything. And I do believe in that, because I see some of my friends that have done dumb, stupid stuff and seen relationships end because of things like that. I mean, an example like that, I'm in Florida and a girl walks up to me and says, hey, do you want to get a drink with me? Your wife's like, no, yeah, you're totally right. Let's hang out for the night. But it doesn't matter. Like someone, I believe, and my father told me this a very long time ago, but he said, everything that you're going to do, act as if someone's watching. And that comes from him being a police officer back in the day. But I took that to heart because—
Say that again. I didn't quite catch it. Say it one more time. Everything
that you do in life, act as if someone's watching. So
okay.
If you pretend there's a camera everywhere around you, where someone's watching what you're doing, you're always going to do something that is inherently better than what you might have done off camera, right? And I believe that. And every time, even if I go into a meeting, I make sure that if I'm going to talk to a client, I'm explaining everything crystal clear, 100%. I want them to understand it, but also I think about, like, what if it's being recorded? And I want everyone to then know, like, hey, no, Jonathan actually said everything the right way. But I take that with me in everything I do, because I think it's very, very true. And in today's world, it's so easy to lose yourself and to lose your credibility over just even one stupid decision. And that's not something that I want to become a part of. And so that's the one thing that he said to me a long time ago that really stuck around.
Yeah, I remember he came out, and just so you guys know, Jonathan took our program. A lot of you guys think our program's just for dating. It's not. It's for connection, presence-based sales. It's rapport. It's being powerful with other people. And you came out, even though you were married. We've had many married guys take it, just to grow your business and grow your ability to be present with your clients and things like that. And I remember you had an amazing Saturday night.
Oh yeah, it was awesome. Got a nice client out of that, which was pretty damn kick-ass.
He took off from the workshop, and instead of going to bars, which we don't do in that one anyways, we go out during the day, but he went out and met with clients and had great conversations and great evening building rapport with clients, and all kinds of stuff came from that.
And that class was really cool because yeah, like the women part, like I've been with my wife now. We've been dating on and off for over 10 years. So that part I didn't care about, but it was really cool to come out. And Dave was telling me for years to do it. And I wish I would have done it sooner now, because it was the communication aspect of just being there and talking to people versus talking at people. And that's also what's helped change lately. And I even joked and I said to you, I was like, why the hell didn't you tell me the way I talked like a year ago? And you're like, well, you weren't ready to hear it. And I would talk so many times trying to just say everything and get it out so I could explain to people, and instead of just talking with them and being there in the moment with them. But that has really changed a lot, even just since being out there in April. And I can totally see a difference in the way that I carry myself, even talking to clients, and business wise, what's helped me, I think, to actually attract more people to want to talk to me and work with me. Because in the past, even if I wasn't intending to come off maybe condescending or cocky or anything else, it might have come off that way simply because of how I was talking. And it's because I was talking at them and not talking to them or talking with them. And that was the one thing that I definitely attribute to you and Dave all the time for a lot of things that have happened this year. It's because I am fully aware of how I'm communicating with people now.
Yeah, and it's huge. It's huge. And you can see, I can feel the difference on you and see the difference, and it's been amazing. So let's do this. We've covered pretty much all the topics, and I have some deeper topics we could go into. But what I'd like to do, since it's been about an hour, is take a few questions from the audience. Does anybody have a question they want to ask? Let me actually take a quick look at the chat. Let's see. The car makes up for it. There's no shame in being a nerd. That's Charles. Everyone's a nerd about something. Self-fulfilling prophecies. We were talking about, I can't remember what part that came up on. I want to go to Bucharest. So I want to learn. We have one client, you got to help him out. He wants, Sean, he wants to learn to invest so he can afford money to go to Bucharest. Let's see here. Okay, some questions are coming in. Here we go. I feel like the
this man stocks. I like that.
Okay, I feel like this is an interesting question. We kind of alluded to it. Red 2A wrote, I feel like I can't date someone unless I'm financially stable. And I see this as a very common trait with a lot of guys. When they're broke, they're bad with women. When they start to make money, they get better with women, even if the women don't know they have money. And it has an effect on their subconscious feeling about themselves. I've also known the opposite, guys who dated a lot when they were broke. I had one guy, he didn't associate many women with money, even though most guys do. And he just said, oh, well, if I don't have money, at least I can go have sex. And so he did amazing with women. Most guys aren't like that. What do you think?
A friend like that.
Hmm?
I have a friend just like that. He is a complete, his life is chaos as far as career and things like that. But he can go out and he will talk to women every single weekend and probably bring a different girl home. I mean, I even had a joke then because his name is Steve, and I jokingly started saying he can't pull out his driveway because he ended up, he's got now 5 kids to 3 or 4 women. So that's a problem.
Yeah, I so.
But I mean, I don't know about that part. If it's that you have to be quote unquote financially well or stable or anything when it comes to dating. The biggest thing is that mindset again. And how do you feel about women, or how do you feel about your life, or do you have any structure in life? And that right there is the one thing that can probably make a big difference, is creating some sort of system that you can follow or some sort of structure that you can follow. I know that Brian, you and Dave talk about that a little bit, but having a structure also to keep your life, let's say, on pace, that might do a lot. And it's not the money part.
Yeah, it's huge. What you just said there is absolutely enormous. I remember every time I got a better structure around my investments, the more stable I just felt. And with you, I felt the most stable, where I got the investments where I don't even think about it hardly anymore. And it has nothing to do with the money being there. It's like the sense of purpose and direction that's driving it all. Really pretty cool.
Yeah, that's that right there. I mean, that's it. As far as, it doesn't matter the amount of money you have or the amount of debt you have. It's the structure in your life. And if you can consistently do anything, you'll see a result, even if it's a small incremental result on a daily basis.
Yeah. And that consistency, it all comes back always to the consistency. I'm going to mute this one here real quick. Okay, cool. Okay, let's look up another question. Oh, they just kept coming in. Chicks to invest in fearless man stocks. I like that. Good call there, Philip. What are the best? Simple question. What are some of the best ways for short-term investments? What would be your answer to that, Charles?
As a financial advisor, I guess I'll have to preface it by saying it depends on the time frame and also what the needs are for it. So, and also even saying what is your readiness level with investing, and what are you trying to do? So let's say if you have something that you want in 1 year from now, down payment on a house, you want to put down $20,000 on a house. You've got $15,000 right now saved up, and you want to start investing money. Okay, what is your level of knowledge and understanding with the markets? Can you exploit that and find a way to make a decent return on that money? It's absolutely possible, but it takes a lot of understanding of finding the right place to invest. Or if you're not as savvy in something like that, it might be instead of investing a lot of it, you just keep it literally in cash until you have that house, or whatever that short-term investment might be, and then actually make it a long-term investment. One of the biggest problems is that kind of what this question alludes to is it's the immediate gratification. Sometimes people think that they have to do a lot right now, or they have to actually invest. And I've even told people sometimes when they become a client that we're actually not going to invest right now. And they're like, well, what do you mean? That's the whole purpose of me being here. I'm like, no, it's not. The purpose of you being here is to understand how money actually works and to invest when it's appropriate for you and your needs, whatever that may be.
Yeah, I've seen you do that. You've actually held my money back. And I said, oh, why are we sitting on this money? And you're like, because it's not the right time. And because you're watching something. I remember we were doing that with one of our funds. You're like, I don't want to go into it right now. I need to wait a month or something like that. And I really appreciated that. Yeah. A lot of financial planners wouldn't do that. They want to get that payday, you know.
Yeah,
boom.
Want it and they're in and they're out.
Yeah, that's really good. It's very important. Now this brings up a chapter in the book that I think is interesting. This guy wrote, Andrew, basically, I'm starting my career and I don't have a lot of capital and I'm in debt. Any suggestions? Now in your book, you have a chapter that said, what is it? The debt is your friend or something? Let's see. I was kind of curious about that chapter.
Yeah, how do I say it? Your best friend debt. That's what I named it.
Yeah, your best friend debt.
Yeah. So that's just if a little bit different than what Andrew might have asked, because he might have asked like if loan debt or what kind of debt is it? I guess that's the first question that I've got to ask to know how to really answer this. But
you want me to read it again? Do you have it right there?
No,
I'm starting.
I'm asking him to actually respond to it because I don't know what kind of debt is it. And if you don't want to, if he doesn't want to share that, that's entirely okay also. But if you're just starting out and you're in debt, and let's say it's bad debt, it's credit card debt, student loan debt, or something like that. And I will categorize student loan debt as bad debt, even though a lot of people won't, because student loans are, for one, they're guaranteed by the government, so you can't get rid of them. They're there for life. And number two, you cannot possibly really say that the student loan and going to college changed your outcome in your career, because in today's world, if 40% of the country, as far as millennials, are getting college degrees, they don't hold their same competitive advantage that they had just for when our parents were growing up, which was only 16%. And so a college degree has become diluted and watered down to where you're even seeing many companies nowadays, they don't even require a college degree. And that's why I put that in there as bad debt. And so the first thing is, when you're coming into your career and you're starting to earn your living, the biggest thing I tell people is we want to get that killed off before we start really investing money, because that debt is going to stick around and it has usually really high interest rates. And college loans can range anywhere from, say, 4% or so up to over 10% sometimes. And credit card debt, I mean, average right now is 19.5%, but just last year is at 25%. So you want to tackle those first and pick the one that's the highest interest rate one. Now, there's multiple ways that people will talk about it. I mean, Dave Ramsey is a big financial guru who talks about there's the debt snowball and there's the debt something else. I can't remember right now. But essentially what he says is pay off the lowest balance that you owe on debt and then work your way up to the highest balance so you get that sense of accomplishment. And I actually tell people the exact opposite. I say go off and pay the highest interest rate one first, You are going to keep those debts for a longer period of time. You're not going to have one fall off as quick. However, actually in the long run, you save money, because if you tackle the highest interest rate, you are proportionally kicking down that money sooner and sooner, that you just let it then roll on to the next debt payment and then on to the next one and down and down. When I talk about debt being your friend, what I'm talking about is there are ways to use debt to your advantage and to actually make money in the process with debt. And so I'll use my car as a great example, which is the one thing I use in the book also. I finance my car, and I'm going to finance the one when I get it next week. And a lot of people go, what the hell, dude? No, then you're totally full of shit. And I look at them, I'm like, no, it's just you don't understand how debt actually works. And so for the car, for example, I put down on my McLaren enough to get a interest rate over a 5-year term that I was happy with. And that interest rate, I wanted to be below what I felt I could average in my investment account. And if I am able to average at least an interest rate or more in my one investment account, I know that the payments now are, for one, they're not coming from my paycheck. My investments are paying my monthly payment on the car. And as long as I am able to maintain at least the interest rate that I have on that loan for the 5 years, it's essentially free money. I'm going to have, at worst case scenario, the same investment balance at the end of those 5 years. And I have the car also. So now I have not only a depreciating asset, which is the car, but still an asset, because I could sell it for not as much as what I originally got it for, but I could still sell it. But I still have my brokerage account at the same time. And it's what people, when they go to buy a house or something else, they go, I want to buy in cash. I pay everything in cash. And I look at them like, why? Use someone else's money. And if you're doing it the right way, there's a really clever way you can continue to do that. And that's what, another thing with wealthy people that are very successful, they all know how to manage and actually use debt. That's the other part that I should have said earlier, is that anyone who's wealthy, they love debt and they use it all the time because they know how to leverage it properly. And that's the same thing I would say. You look at debt, it's not a bad thing. A lot of people hear the word debt and like they tense up and go, oh my God. It's actually a really good thing if you do it the right way. And
yeah, credit cards are a great example of that. I mean, I used to hate credit cards because I'd always get in trouble with them.
yeah,
And then I figured out, and got control of my money and just started paying them off every month. And I collect the points and I get all the insurance behind them. And if I want to do a chargeback, I can do that. So it protects my money that way. And there's so many benefits, you know?
Yeah, I mean, that's the same thing. And that's actually another thing with the car, for example, the down payment on the car, I didn't even do in cash. I used a credit card for the down payment. Now I had that money in my bank account that I had moved over, but I said, I'm going to use this credit card. I'm paying it off the next day. And I got a massive amount of points for that. And that's the one thing a lot of people don't think about when it comes to using debt the right way. Now, the bad thing is if you're going to have a credit card, you want to make sure if you're going to use it, you're paying it off every single month. Otherwise, then this blows up and it doesn't work the right way. Now, all of a sudden, you're adding to a balance and you're giving someone a guaranteed 25% return. And so a thing I joke about a lot with people is there is a way to make 25% every single year. And there are people that are making 25% on their money every single year. Those people are the credit card companies. Every single year, they're making 25% no matter what, give or take, depending upon what rates are. But that's it. You're not going to do that anywhere else. And so if you are going to understand that principle, you can do really well by going into debt, but doing it the right way.
Yeah. The way to make big money faster, and it's a lot higher risk, is starting businesses. And I believe everybody that wants to start a business should start a business, but realize that the first few will probably fail. You'll figure things out. You'll learn because you're going to be working on your belief systems around money and your mindset. But when your mindset gets straight, you'll find you can start business after business at that point.
Yeah.
And
Philip has a really good one actually here.
Yeah, go for it.
For me or you. Wait, let me read it out. It says, what are our physical and emotional blockages when it came to cultivating proper money mindset and got you guys on the road to continuous financial success? Any apathy, fear, grief? So I know that you can talk on this also, Brian, but I still have this fear. So even now, I talked to Brian literally not recently because I've been a little bit busy with everything else, but I still have in the back of my mind, but I still fear about this all evaporating and going away and becoming not successful or becoming essentially a failure. So it's always going to be there to some capacity. I mean, I think about that, not, I should say all the time, but it's something that's in the back of my mind, always going, oh, holy shit, what if I'm actually wrong with what I'm doing? Or what if the world changes? And that's the big thing that keeps me up at night is I am one button click away from someone trying to make what I do all autonomous. I mean, there's investment apps now that exist that can do 99% of what I do as far as the investing part. The one reason I feel that I will be around forever is because it's the emotional part that I touch base on so much with clients. And I'm talking about the actual mindset, which no phone or app or anything else will ever do, because you could simply ignore it. You'll just put the phone down and ignore what it's telling you to do. But that is one thing that I've always had fear, or making a wrong business decision, with the direction I want to do the practice. I mean, the book, for example, it took me, I started writing the book this year. It started originally in March, and I had a ghostwriter help me do the book. So I did a couple of video interviews with the company to really get the book written, because I'm not an author. I've never written a book in my life. And so I was like, hey, okay, another friend of mine had done a book. He referred me to them. They said, okay, well, tell us your story. Tell us what you're trying to accomplish. And also, well, like, who are people that are you find inspirational, blah, 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 blah. And so I had a lot of stuff typed up bullet point wise and sent it off to them. They did the interviews. So they could see how I talk. They could see my mannerisms. And then they said, okay, we'll be back in touch with you in a month. And so in April, I get the book and I read it, and it was fucking terrible. I read it and I almost had a heart attack right away, because for one, it didn't sound like me, but it was such a just condescending, pompous tone, because they took some, like, I love listening to Andy Frisella's podcast, the MFCEO project, and I love Ed Milet also. And they took, I think, that a little bit too much to heart and pretty much tried to make it sound like it's like Andy Frisella talking, who is very vulgar and very crude in what he says, which there's nothing wrong with that, but they went a little overboard. And I was like, no, this is terrible. So I went back to them. I was like, guys, no, this sucks. I'm like, well, sorry, you already paid us. There's no refunds, so you can do what you want with it. I was like, well, that's great. So I was like, okay, I'm going to take it upon myself, and I'm actually going to write the damn book now. And it took me then almost a month and a half to write the first chapter, because I would literally write it and I would delete it. I would write it and delete it. And it got to the point where my wife is literally yelling at me, like, just write other chapters. I had her proofread it every single time. She's like, this is great. I'm like, no, this sucks. Start note, this is terrible. And I'd write it again. I'm like, all right, babe, read this. No, this is great. I'm like, no, there's no way it's great. This sucks. And so I had that mental block even then, and I was so afraid of the book not being successful. And I was like, this is gonna be terrible. This is never gonna do well. And it precipitated then. For a month and a half, I would be just depressed essentially, and just like, and my coworkers can notice it, my clients, so they could all tell something is off. Like, dude, you all right? And eventually, like, okay, no, I just need to get through chapter one and keep going. And then all of a sudden, I got through the entire book in a month's time. Had to go back and do a few more tweaks, but literally, I was able to just word vomit the entire thing, and that is the book that's out now. And the cool thing is, like, I got past that hump where I was like so afraid of it failing, instead of just saying, well, you know what, screw what anyone else thinks. Like, if people read and say, Jonathan, you're an idiot, fine. You know what, whatever, I'm an idiot, I don't care. But that was the biggest block that I had. And the cool thing is now the book is out there. Like, I can, for one, say, like, I wrote a book which still just dumbfounds me. And I think my parents and everyone else that knows me growing up. But number two, a couple of people that have read it actually are enjoying it and telling me, like, this is really cool. So now I know, like, number one, I did something that I didn't think I could do, and I was afraid to do it. But number two, people actually are enjoying what I did. So that is a great answer to that question as far as how I've dealt with it. To answer your question,
I love it. I love the vulnerability and the realness of it. I mean, and here's the book he's referring to, guys. And can you see it there? Is it showing up on camera? I don't see myself. Okay. Stop faking it. Start making it. It's on Amazon. Is Amazon's where they get it, right?
That, or I made a website for it. It's startmakingit.com is the website.
Startmakingit.com. Okay. And that's the yellow McLaren, right? Is that yellow or orange?
Orange, yeah. Orange.
And then you've got the green one coming to Tim. I wanted to talk about Tim's really quick. the Integrated Man Summit, which is coming up the first weekend in December. And we're going to have a whole host of amazing speakers there. Jonathan is going to be one of them. You can ask him your questions personally and live. Get to see the McLaren. You get to ask him about his mindset, see his attitude, and notice how vulnerable and really is about money. He's not just telling you a bunch of garbage you want to hear. He's telling you his own fears and his own things that scare him. And that's part of what makes it so real. We're not only going to have him, we're going to have Jonathan Glover of No More Mr. Nice Guy fame. If you haven't read that book, make sure to check it out. We're also going to have Mark Edward Davis, who is actually, he helps people get married overseas. And he's actually probably the only person I've ever met that is legitimate and real at that and really cares about his clients. He has over 200 marriages. And I think 2 divorces and 200 marriages, because he really does a lot of mental stuff to make sure you're marrying the right person. And we have all the fearless coaches going to be speaking, including myself. And you're going to be, and we have, and of course, Sam, who some of you don't know, but he's 62 years old and killing it. And he's going to be at the event. 62, I think. 62 or 63. I can't remember what he is now.
Stanley Tucci, Sam?
No, Sam, you haven't met Sam. He's one of our coaches. He became one of our coaches because he's just so young and vital and full of life. And he said last year was one of his best years of his life. And a lot of our coaches are younger. And so I wanted a coach that was older, that could speak to the older crowd and show them that they can still travel the world, have a great life at any age. It really doesn't stop. And he looks like Stanley Tucci. I see what you were talking about. He does look like Sam. Yeah, so Sam will be there speaking too, along with Anthony and Josh and Matt and the whole crew and Dave. And so I think it's a no-brainer event if you want a lot of great minds sharing wisdom with you. That's, I think, is some of the most valuable you're going to find anywhere. And if you want to meet them in person. And remember, guys, there's only one way to really change. One of the most powerful ways, to change is to surround yourself with like-minded people that are moving in the direction you want to go. Now, that last question you answered, I wanted to answer it just briefly. I'm going to give the shortest version of that answer I can, which was, it's the same thing. How did I get past my money reality? I grew up super poor and impoverished, and I was dirt poor all through my 20s and pretty much all through my 30s. And I was always just above broke. And what really shifted my mindset was I just started doing stuff like you're talking about here, Jonathan. I started reading books about money, and I started looking at the mindset around money. And here's the funny part. I didn't start this at a young age. And why? Because I was more concerned with my need for validation, meeting women, getting over my insecurities. Money was actually lower on my list, and I never made it a priority. So when I finally started making it a priority, it still wasn't my major priority. I was still more concerned with getting girls and having fun than I was making money. So I would do a little work on the money reality, and I would implement this stuff. And then, and that was starting in my mid 30s. And then suddenly things started to change, and things started to change as I did the work and worked on my beliefs, worked on how I felt about money. Money started to show up, and I literally went from broke to making a lot of money almost overnight. And and at the same time, I was doing all this mindset work around money. The Millionaire Mind, if you've ever heard of that, that's where I did it. And what happened was kind of amazing to me. And I realized today why it happened, because it's like the thing you're not overly worried about. You're like, I'll handle it. It's in the back of my mind bugging me, and I don't like the feeling, and I'm worried about it, but I really want girls. And because I wasn't 100% focused on it, I think it changed easier. I wasn't obsessed in that direction. So I do a little work and a big change would happen. And the area with women, I had to work harder because I was so obsessed over it. And so that's really how my money reality changed. I literally got a job that paid me $15 an hour part-time. And I thought I was never going to be able to make money at this job, but it was the only thing I really wanted to do, which is work in a hypnosis center. And I was working in there helping people with that with weight loss. I could not have seen this to save my life, but I was working on my mindset around money. And then suddenly they said, hey, we have our salesperson's leaving. They only had one salesperson. I said, I'll do it. Didn't even know how much it paid. Went in there, and my first week's pay was $2,500. And my income shot through the roof. And I was like, whoa, I wasn't used to that. And it just kept happening week after week after week. That was a long time ago, but it really changed my reality and belief around how. And then that was number one. Number two was the savings. When I started savings, and I was willing to lose everything not to touch that savings, and to see it as a nest egg, something that grows for me, and started investing and just knowing that money was out there working, whether I could pay my bills or not. that it was going to give me a future, it was going to give me a retirement. That was huge too. So those are my two things. So we're way over. It's about an hour and a half. I loved having Jonathan on the call. Make sure you come to the live event. There's a link in the chat box. Make sure to hit that link right now and check it out. The live event is going to allow you to meet Jonathan in person, and I'm sure he'll have copies of the book there, but you should just go ahead and buy it right now.
Yeah.
And
We're seeing everyone there.
And he's got that cool cover too. I like that cover a lot. It's really cool.
My buddy who came up with that, I did not want to put that on there. I was totally against it, and then they're like, no, you totally need to do that because of your personality. It's almost, and it made sense. It's almost like a joke against the people that put like the material thing everywhere and don't have the actual material thing, that try and just sell the BS stuff. I was like, okay, you know what? It's actually not a bad idea because of what's inside of the book is not just a quick sales pitch.
Yeah, and I like, you're like the guy who gets how material things are meant to be used. You're not attached. You're like, I love my car, but if I lose my car, it doesn't define me. And that's really what's important. I love having beautiful women in my life, but if I don't have a beautiful woman, do I still love myself? And I remember when I had that reality shift in my life when I was young, I was dating all these women and I had to have one over every night. And I reached a point where I was like, wait a minute, if I don't have a girl over, I'm depressed. This is not right. So I took a vacation from all women for like 6 months and just learned to love myself and date myself and meditated and spent time with myself. And suddenly I didn't want to have as many women in my life. I got a lot pickier after that, a lot pickier about who I let in my life.
I'm going to put in the chat too, because someone asked if they can get in touch with me. So I'm actually going to put in the group chat. I'll respond with my company's website, and also I'll just put my number in there. So if you guys want to call me, if you want to ask questions, by all means, go ahead. And if I don't answer, it's because I'm either sleeping or I'm in meetings. I'll get back to you.
He has a great staff. They're really awesome. I worked with them. We did a lot of training with them. If they take your call, trust me, they will get it to him.
Cool.
Okay, guys, it was great having Jonathan on the call.
Yeah, this was fun.
Yeah, and I'm really looking forward to Miami because we're just gonna have such a great group of guys there, and we're all gonna be hanging out, having dinner together. Me, you, Glover, Mark. It's just like and every one of these guys exemplifies success. They all make a decent living. They all have good work-life balance. They all enjoy their lives. They travel. They everything that we talk about at Fearless. Mark, yourself, Glover, and that's what really counts. If you don't have good, if you're just killing yourself doing something you hate, it's not worth it.
No, not at all. And you'll never get to where you want to be either. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah, people that do that, or if they do, as soon as they get there, they die of a heart attack. Boom, got there, done. Okay. Let's see, 5 new messages. Anything important? I think we're good. Not seeing anything, Jonathan. You see it's right. Did you get it? Website, book, phone number. Jonathan Sebastian already posted it for you. And then it's reposted again by Jonathan Sebastian, so you guys should see it. So guys, make sure you take that down right now because we're about to hang up. You were awesome. I'm going to give you 5 seconds to write all that down, then I'm going to log everybody out. But it was great talking to you, one. And
hope everyone has a good night, too.
Yeah, and we'll see you guys all at Tim's, the Integrated Man Summit. Take care.
See ya.